Maybe talk about Painkiller, the book, and maybe just some of the main pieces of the story that prompted you to get help, the help itself, and how you transitioned, because you were banned from the NHL for failing drug and substance abuse. Maybe talk about that and how you overcame it.
Yeah, man, oh man, I'm sure a stubborn old bull, boy. I tell you, like you'd think after the fourth rehab that I'd be like, okay, I'm finished. So I'm like, nah, we're going right to the fucking end on this one. And so I did, and I was sitting there. I just remember there, I write about it where there was my last night when I drank in 2008, and I got arrested, and I had cops on me and stuff. And I was living basically on a couch, trashed my sister's house, and I had a knife out and all this stuff. And I don't remember anything. All I remember is I was laying in the snow, and I had one cop, his knee was on my neck. And I looked up at my sister, and she was bawling, and they looked at her and they said, do you want to press charges? And she said, just take him home. And so they took me home, and I woke up in the morning, and I had, as they talk about in the book, they talk about a spiritual shift. And something changed in me that morning. And by the grace of God, the league called, and they said, hey, we heard what happened last night. Are you willing to go to treatment? And I said, yes. And I said, for how long? And they said, it really doesn't matter this time, Brantt, And so I went for 8 months. They paid for 8 months of treatment.
Wow.
And yeah, it was incredible what the league did. And as I sat there my first night in treatment, I got out my notebook, and I just started jotting notes about my experience. And I thought, you know what, man, if you could just stay sober one day at a time, maybe you can help somebody else, whether it's at an AA meeting or possibly even some of your old teammates or a team. And I did, and I wrote a proposal, and I sent that for 7 years of my sobriety, and I didn't get any answers. And then I got hired by the Kings, and then what I did is, as throughout those years, I was writing down my experience of building my life back up in sobriety. But when I got hired by LA, I'm like, no, I don't want to release this while I'm working for a team. And then when the job came to end in 2018, the publishing company, Penguin Random House, called me and said, we heard you're writing a book. Would you like to finish it? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. So that took 2 years, and then it got released a couple of years ago. And I was writing it. The hardest part was the audiobook.
I heard you say that once. I heard you say that in an interview.
The first day I get there, I basically sat in this studio by myself with a producer in Toronto, and it was 8 hours, and it was word for word. And if I said one word wrong, we stopped and went back and did the paragraph. And the first day I left, I said, I can't do this. I said, there's no way I can finish this. And then 8 straight days of that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, it was great, man. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, you should be. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
You.
It's funny, Mizey. Like I was telling Riley earlier, because Riles and I used to get after it quite a bit, when he was playing, and we were, we lived together for a little bit, and we were always, we're best buddies, and like thinking back, like when we had you, like we partied, but I think maybe because I was younger, I didn't look at it as like, oh, you got a big problem, because we were all partying.
Yeah.
Now I may not have known the extent of what you had going on, like maybe later in the night or whatever. But, I never thought to myself, oh, he's got a big time problem.
No, well, you weren't, buddy, you were such a cool cat to me back then. I was really struggling, and you were always just a happy face in the room. And no wonder you've done what you did for 3 decades, man. Like you're just a deadly guy. And I just remember needing a warm face, and you always had that in the morning for me. But yeah, like I knew it was getting bad when we had to practice in Philly, and I told Koff, I said, hey, I'm just going out for a couple of beers. And he said, Knuckles, he says, make sure you're there, in the morning, we're going to get bag skated or whatever. I said, oh yeah, I'll be fine, a couple of beers. And So I go to this bar. I think it was Egypt's. Remember Egypt's?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. That's a club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I go to this bar, and there's a couple girls that I knew, right? And I said, hey, you guys want to go back and do a couple lines of blow? And they're like, we'd love to. So we go back to my apartment, and I said, listen, I got to be on the ice at like 9:30. I said, so the blow stops at like 1 a.m. So now it's not about 9 o'clock in the morning. We're still sniffing.
Man. Jeez.
I'm just sweating bullets. And I said, oh my God, I got to go to practice. I said, I can't find my keys. You guys got a car? They're like, yeah. So they pull up in this like shitty Datsun Gremlin. It's just rusted out. I'm just sweating in the front seat of this car. These two girls are driving me to practice. I told them to drop me off 2 blocks from the rink, right?
Yeah.
So I get in, and I sat next to Koff, and he said, oh my God. He goes, what happened to you? He goes, you fucking reek. I said, bro, even if I tell you what I did last night, you're not going to believe me. I said, I go, but here's the deal, man. I said, I wasn't a good skater before. I'm going to be like a really bad skater today. Like, there's no way I'm going to make it. He just said, hey, man. He said, go out on the ice, take 1 lap, say you pulled your back out and get off. I said, if I can make the lap, I'll do it. So I get out there and I do the 1 lap. I made it. And I said, I pulled my back. And then that was the start of the insanity for me, where I said, wow, man, I can't control this beast anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And anyways, it's just a powerful moment where I realized that Brantt Myhres wasn't in control. No matter how tough I thought I was on the ice, this thing was beating me up every fucking day.